in the freak show is going on? Trump, Epstein, and the reality show we call Earth. President Trump pulling a Kamala. We haven't seen this level of gaslighting since the Biden administration. Why are we getting strung along? Get some really bad episode of Scandal, only instead of any justice, we're just told, what? Why are you still talking about that guy? Epstein? He's a creep. Get over it. We got that part. We know that he's a creep.
And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
But he was a creep, according to Pam Bondi, who also harmed 250 plus children on a private island with celebrities and royalty and politicians on both sides of the aisle, just partying it up with minors. And now we're supposed to just shrug and say, well, that's it. That's a wrap. Seriously, come on. It's weird. This isn't even about parties anymore. It's about them versus us. And I still like President Trump. It's just, I think that the elitists maybe even have a threat on him or something's threatening us. I don't know. Maybe some of them think that we're just too dumb to figure it out, or they like watching us figure it out. We're their entertainment. We're their monkeys. But I'm not laughing. And neither are the hundreds of thousands of people that this has impacted. And they never get justice. No, I'm not over it just because he was some creep. If he was just some creep and that was it, I'd be over it. But this has impacted a lot. And I think it's still impacting Americans and maybe the world. And maybe that's why he can't let us know. But I really like President Trump, but no, I'm not going to clap like a seal every time that I see him and Pam Bondi doing this terrible improv scene on how much of a creep Epstein is. And then to watch her backpedal here. But maybe the reason Trump is defending Pam Bondi so much is because they know something we don't know. Clearly they do, right?
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively, the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every year, every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. We're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on it.
See, and it's just the way that it was handled. It's their behavior. For anybody just giving recommendations to Mr. President Trump and his team, AG Bondi, it's your behavior around it that was shifty. And you've never insulted our intelligence. And so I think that's what's most jarring. Now, of course, the left is like, yes, he has, because they believe all the rhetoric. But one thing that we can all unite on is that something's rotten in the state of Denmark. This is all weird from both sides, and maybe even around the world. What do you think? And here's the thing too, she shouldn't have ever said that there was an Epstein client list. She's an attorney, so she should know not to say. She could have said, there's a file sitting on my desk. Again, you have to be simple and specific. This is what I teach my acting. It gets people in trouble. It gets me in trouble sometimes. Attorneys, this is why I can be helpful as an acting teacher. Simple and specific. You have to be so careful of saying the wrong thing when you're an attorney, especially. And Pam Bondi knows that. Maybe that was a mistake. And maybe she just misspoke. She's a human being. But say that. Say that instead of doubling down. Say that. I'm a human. I made an error. As an attorney, I know better, but I made an error. I should have just said the whole file was sitting on my desk. I said the list was in hopes that it was. That was an error. I don't know. That would be a little better than just there's a client list, and then no, there's no client list. Why are you talking about a client list? That's what the left does. That's what the left does. That's what we just witnessed for 4 years, was that kind of gaslighting and moving the mark. And we're over that. Tell us what you can. Tell us what you can. President Trump, millions of people voted for you because millions of people are smart. And you know that millions of people are smart. I have 3 things that I'm going to offer. Number 1, this could be a way to protect us. It could be something so catastrophic that all the peace deals would melt away, that America as we know it would crumble, that it would be complete anarchy. And maybe we just don't know. Now that might seem overly defensive of the president. But at the same point, there are things that the president has to lie about for our safety. And that goes for any president. That goes for any politician. Anybody who doesn't think politicians lie is a liar or extremely naive. The explanation, Epstein was a creep, get over it, is just not going to work with millions of free-thinking, very smart Americans. Let's hear the options as Matt Walsh sees it.
Option 1 is that the Trump administration played into the Epstein quote-unquote conspiracy theories, knowing they were false, until the moment when it no longer benefited them to do so. They were drumming up Epstein conspiracies before the election. And then once they took power, they didn't know what to do. So they lied about having possession of a client list, knowing they actually didn't have possession of it, strung everybody along for a while until they finally dropped the pretense. That's one option. Okay, that's one theory of the case. The second is that the quote unquote conspiracy theories are true. And now this administration is, for one reason or another, participating in the cover-up. There is no door number 3 here, because the attorney general is on the record saying, I have the client list. So those are the only 2 ways to make sense of that. Those are the 2 possibilities. Again, I don't enjoy it. It doesn't make me happy. I don't relish this. It's just the way it is. And it's not a good situation either way. And either way, Pam Bondi needs to go at a minimum. She either lied and said she had the client list on her desk when she didn't, or she's lying now and saying she doesn't have the list when she does. Again, there's no third option. She's lying either way. You can't get around it.
That I agree with. They're lying either way. We know that. That's clear. And Pam Bondi, I have always wanted to like from the beginning. And I as a person, she seems fine. I just was always curious as an acting coach with her behavior, because I always thought she's a really high-powered attorney, but she plays aloof a lot. And maybe I thought that was her shtick and how she wins cases. And maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe the elites are all just laughing at all of us, trying to figure it out, because we're all just the minions down here. Oh, look at them squirreling around in this reality show and driving up our ratings. Or I don't know. Maybe we're all being played. I think the third option is that possibly there is a danger And not just because of Trump's ego or something like that, but there's a real and present danger, meaning like all of our products and everything that we use, it would just start crumbling down because we'd realize it was run by this ring. And some people say, well, then let it crumble, let it crumble. But would you say that if you knew our safety was in jeopardy now? And yes, it doesn't take away from the fact that these children and people were harmed who are now adults and otherwise, right? Or more people. We don't even know, because it's like this thing can go on and on and on. We don't know how deep it is. I mean, it was an island with, let me repeat that, with celebrities and royalty and people on both sides, and they were trafficking children. I mean, this is, but also at the same point, we can care about that and be consistent in the fact that we care about all kids. We care about the 300,000 children that the Biden administration let go missing because of the open borders and the trafficking situation. We can also care about the 10,000 children that the Trump administration rescued and continues to rescue. And the people that are trying to stop ICE from rescuing those kids. We can care about those kids. We can care about the immigrant kids who have parents who are encouraging kids to participate with criminals and entering the country illegally and then possibly getting trafficked and sponsored by PDF files. We can care about those kids. We can care about our own kids here on American soil being indoctrinated through videos and television and music from PDF files who are producers in Hollywood and otherwise. We can care about the kids who are being mutilated at 8 years old because they're feeling funny in their body and somebody's told them that they should change their entire body for the rest of their life and make a life-altering decision at the age of 8. We care about those kids. We care about the kids who lost their lives as a result of open borders and the criminals coming in and taking full advantage. We care about those children. We can care about all the kids. So we're consistent in that. And we can put politics aside. I think this Epstein thing is the one thing that actually unites the left and the right. And maybe makes us see that in many ways we're all being played, but what does that do for us? So that's why I'm turning to God. But I still can appreciate at the same time the good things that have happened with this Trump administration. And not agree with absolutely everything. I mean, that's something I think the left has created. I feel like that's something generated by the left. Since when do we have to like absolutely everything about a person? If that were true, nobody would be married, right? And we had just a couple choices during the election. And I'm not all of a sudden anti-Trump or something. No, I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. But I can look at it both sides level-headed. I can love someone or something and also be disappointed. But the third option of him actually protecting us, that is a possibility. And like I teach my 8-year-old all the time, we have to have trust and respect. And sometimes, like I tell my 8-year-old, I can't tell you every detail about what's going on. And you have to trust and respect me as your mom, that I'm always concerned about your health and well-being and safety. So for instance, if we're out in public and I decide we have to go for any reason, I don't owe her an explanation and we don't need to have a big conversation about it. It's time to go because she trusts and respects me that I'll explain to her when it's appropriate, but maybe in that time it isn't. So maybe that is the option number 3. Maybe it's not appropriate right now for Trump to tell us what is going on. We need to trust and respect. I don't know. I had a friend who worked for the U.S. Pentagon once under the Obama administration. I asked her, I said, do you like President Obama? She said, doesn't matter. I said, well, what do you mean? She says, I'm here to protect Americans. I'm here to protect the U.S. Pentagon. And he's my chief, commander-in-chief, and that's all that matters. And I'm here to protect. She said, civilians, you guys don't even realize how protected you are every second of every day. You'd lose your mind if you knew everything that was going on and how insanely protected you are. But ignorance is bliss, she said. So enjoy. Know that we're protecting you. And there's a lot of good people with Americans' best interests in mind. So I don't know. That is a possibility for me as well. What do you think?
Now, personally, I don't know the full truth about Epstein, and now I seriously doubt that any of us will ever know. But I do certainly believe that he was a global sex trafficker with high-profile clientele. I mean, that was pretty much unanimously agreed upon until 10 seconds ago by everybody. It's also the reason he went to prison. It's why Maxwell is currently in prison. I also don't for a second believe that he killed himself. And
do you guys believe that? I mean, this is some weird episode of America, I gotta say, but I'm just tired of American lives in the balance. But what is the solution, right? I know as an American family, we're upset, but what is the solution here? Would you want to know the client list if you knew the health and well-being and safety of millions of people as we know it right now would be in jeopardy? Would you still want it? It's just something to think about who want justice. This is like a really bad episode of Law and Order SUV, only they ran out of the budget when they're about to make the final arrest. You're like, what is this? Is this Hollywood's final rollout? Have they gotten so desperate that we're all a part of this giant Truman Show that is America? Who is it produced by? Satan? BlackRock? Disney? All three of them? And look, again, I'm saying all this as a Trump fan. Number one, to his defense, maybe there is something so sinister that he can't possibly let the American people know the truth. And it's not because he was a part of it. It's because something else. The atomic bomb is going to go off if we all find out or something. I don't know. I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt because I can't explain why Mr. President Trump, who has done so much good, and he really has so much good to protect the borders, saving 10,000 kids so far and counting from trafficking and otherwise. And I'm not throwing out baby with the bathwater, but that scene with Pam Bondi, though, why are you still talking about this guy? That was some of the worst acting I have ever seen. And this is coming from an acting coach. It begs to question why. Why was he forced to act? Or why did he decide to act? Now, he did have a good question. If the left had something so bad on Trump, why didn't they expose that sooner? And they would have. And then the other argument is that, well, because they have things that are going to be exposed too. I see both of that. But the way, Mr. Trump, that you've handled it just with trying to act like it's nothing, that's what I think people are most upset with, because it's an insult to our intelligence. The difference between MAGA and the cult on the far left, who's calling MAGA a cult, is that we do think for ourselves, no matter what, even if that means disagreeing with a president that millions of us voted for and we happen to like. That's actually the opposite of a cult. When you disagree with the person who is in charge. Remind you that half of the MAGA movement are Democrats who left the Democratic Party. Many of them being Black men, because they woke up and realized they were being used by Democrats. And so many of them describe it as leaving the Democratic plantation. I mean, this is ridiculous gaslighting. So what I advise to Mr. President Trump is just to tell us something. Maybe you can't tell us everything, but tell us something as to why this has been handled so weird instead of gaslighting us, because that's what the left does. And that's why we haven't trusted much of the media and otherwise. Or that I research politics, and the more I look into the whole world the more I understand why Bible sales are up. The more I understand why more people are turning to God. The more I understand why I'm turning to God. Because this is not a right or left issue. It really isn't. It's light and dark. And maybe releasing the list would just have the entire thing crumble. Maybe some people believe it's because Trump is on there. But whatever the case is, we know they're lying, but they're not even good acting about the lying, which we are noticing. Because we know politicians lie all the time, but sometimes they sell us on the lie. And this is not being sold to us, and we want to know why. But when I reread Trump's Truth Social, I almost wonder if he's trying to give us an elbow, wink, wink. Like, I don't know. Some people are saying it's because Epstein's still alive. He's saying the guy never dies. Almost like we have to move on. Don't let them distract you. And so maybe that is. I don't know. But in the meantime, I'm going to be over here reading my Bible. I'll be reading Psalms. Stay tuned to the next episode of Who's On First. America, Planet Earth, the reality show. I don't know what's coming next, but I know who's always going to win in the end.